Mark, how do you get to the Super Bowl? You got to be lucky. Let's look at some of the crazy things we just mentioned about uh, 6 seconds to go in the game, and you allow them to complete a 50-yard pass for a touchdown, which was a turning point in the game. You look at the Cleveland Browns playing Kansas City. They fumble the ball on the 1-yard line going in. They throw a 101-yard touchdown interception. Those two things don't happen. Then you end up with maybe the Browns playing the Packers. So it's crazy. But as I look at this game, a couple plays in every game are going to determine the outcome of the game. But Brady, I can't give him enough credit. I don't think he's a great quarterback right now, Mark. He threw 3 interceptions against the Packers, but let me tell you what he is great at. I have to give him credit as being maybe the greatest player to ever set the right culture in a locker room. He helped do it at the Pats. He came right down. He changed the culture completely with the Buccaneers. So let's give him an awful lot of credit. Brady can't run. He does move well in the pocket, but that's going to be a detriment to him to a certain extent. I think that what's ironic about this game, Mark, is the Bucs have won 3 games on the road in the playoff, and now they're going to play the Super Bowl at home. No wild card's ever done that before. You play, if we win 3 road games, we get a chance to come home and play. In addition to that, they're going to get Antonio Brown back, who's really potentially a great receiver when you look him with the other ones, when you put him with outstanding receivers, Godson, et cetera. But let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes is really special. He can run, he can scramble, he can get things done. They get Watkins back, another great receiver to go with Kels, to go also with Tyreek Hill and with Hardman. So they have 4 great receivers, just like the Buccaneers do. When you really look at this and you break it down, let's look at penalties. The Chiefs have given up 18 first downs on penalties, whereas the Bucs have excelled in that. So when you look at penalties, but the problem in the playoff game, Mark, the referees don't call anything. There were serious hold calls last week, but they don't call it. So it doesn't penalties. All that doesn't make it any different. Then you look at the turnovers; they're basically even when you look at that. Both of them are very talented football teams. But I have to go back to week number 12, November 29th, at Buccaneers Stadium, the same place this game will be played. The Buccaneers lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 27-24. But here's some important things. There were 543 yards total offense by Kansas City. 456 of it passed. Whereas the Buccaneers had 417. Brady did throw for 342 yards. The penalties, 10 by the Kansas City Chiefs for 82 yards. The Bucs only had 8. But when you look at this, the Kansas City Chiefs ran 72 plays to the Bucs 45. When you look at the fact that Mahomes is a great quarterback, does great things, but the Buccaneers were able to run the football 5.6 yards per try. So when I look at it and you break it down, I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game 34-27 for one main reason, Mark. Mahomes won the Super Bowl last year, but he did not play great in the Super Bowl. Yeah, he played a great fourth quarter, but up until then, he did not excel. Had he been the MVP of the Super Bowl last year, maybe I'd feel a little bit different. But I think Mahomes feels he has something to prove. In addition to that, I think the pressure's on Brady to try to win a Super Bowl with 2 different teams, and to do it the first year would be spectacular. I think the Bucs may be happy. There's going to be pressure on them playing at home. People are going to expect them to win. But I believe Mahomes is going to have an unbelievable day competing.
I like that analysis. That's a lot there, and I like what you put in there, and I think that's a lot of great points. And I look at this game, you talked about the first time they played. You look at Tyreek Hill, he had 13 receptions for 269 yards. He had over 200 yards in the first quarter. So how does that line up against this Tampa Bay defense? Can they stop him? Can Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, come up with a scheme to stop Tyreek Hill? Can he stop Travis Kelce? Because no one's been able to do that throughout the playoffs. The last game you look at between the two of them, they had 290 yards receptions combined receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. So how do you stop both of them? You might be able to take one out of the equation, but I don't know if you're going to be able to take both. The question is, if you look at Shaq Barrett, 3 sacks. You look at JPP, 2 sacks last week against Aaron Rodgers. Steady in the pocket. If you look at their last 2 games, Drew Brees, not a runner. Aaron Rodgers, not a runner. Guys that they know exactly where they're going to be and their throwing point in the pocket's going to be. But if you look at Mahomes, he'll be able to move that point in the pocket. He can move the ball and move the pocket at will. And he's got the ability to run the football if he has to. I look for him to have at least 6 to 8 design runs in this game by Andy Reid because he'll be healthy in this game. But the question is, those 2 offensive tackles that will be missing. Mitchell Schwartz, the right tackle. And if you look at Eric Fisher, he's out now with an Achilles to left tackle. How do you replace 2 starters? They did during the season without the right tackle, but now you've got to replace your left tackle. That's going to be instrumental in this football game. But when I look at this matchup, Coach, I look at the offense for Kansas City and the defense for Tampa Bay. I think those are going to be the keys. Tom Brady, it's almost his destiny. He goes to Tampa Bay. They don't start off well. They lose a couple of games. They've got penalties and turnovers. They get to the bye. They turn everything around. They lose to Kansas City this year. They haven't lost since. Everything's going right for them. They go into Green Bay. They turn the ball over 3 consecutive series. And guess what? They still win the football game. This is a team that they face adversity the entire season long, and they find ways to win. I look at Tampa Bay. They're going to keep this close, but I think Kansas City, I agree with you. Kansas City will find a way to pull this game out. It might come down to the kicking game. It might come down to Harrison Butker. He's been spectacular all season long. Hasn't missed long kicks. If it does come down to that in a 3-point game because Kansas City is favored by 3 in this game, I agree with you. I think the Chiefs prevail, but I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to come down to who has the ball last. I think it's going to be the Chiefs, and they win the game 31-30.
Just like the Packers, like the Browns versus Kansas City, it's going to be a couple plays going to determine the outcome of the game. But the one guy I think is going to have an outstanding game, Mark, is Gronkowski. You know, Kelce might be the best tight end that's ever played the game. But I think that Gronkowski is going to play an outstanding game. I think it's going to be the last game of his career. And when you put him with the great receivers, it gives them a real threat. It's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. As a matter of fact, Mark, I am going to be there.
Wow. Why don't you send some tickets our way? Chris and I could use a ticket or 2.
Well, I tell you what, then you can become friends with my friend. I can't get you in, but my friend could.
That's outstanding. Enjoy the game. It's going to be a terrific game to watch. You've got the last 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks facing off against each other. It should be outstanding. I'm going to have my popcorn ready, and I'm going to have a lot of fun watching it.
I am too.